We all know that size matters. Look at that. It's an absolutely massive grip compared to an undersized grip. But will the size of these grips actually affect my performance? Now, given that the grip is the only part of the golf club that we actually touch, this has to have an impact on how it feels in our hands and ultimately how our shots are coming up. Today in this video, I'm going to be testing this extra large jumbo grip against an undersized grip to see if the facts are true. Do they actually matter? I was recently down at Golf Pride HQ in Pinehurst, where I was fit for my perfect grip size. I got to meet Greg as well, who is one of the lead guys at Golf Pride, and he had some interesting things to tell me about grips. So we're here with Greg Cabell, and he's going to talk us through what a perfect grip fitting looks like for the amateur out there, Greg, who's wandering into the shop for the first time and doesn't know what a grip fitting should consist of. Where would we go with it? Because there's so many options, isn't there?
Yeah, it's really intimidating, you know, to the average golfer going into a store, just seeing that wall of grips and knowing where to start. And it's something that we're really working hard to try to improve, you know, make it more engaging, more just driving grip awareness, yeah, aware of the benefits. So first off, you need to be very honest with yourself and figure out, you know, the style of play. What gets you up in the morning to go and play golf? Are you a recreational golfer and potentially going to benefit more from a comfort grip, or are you sort of like going for, you know, maximum feedback, where we'd go for typically a little bit of a firmer grip? Typically, if you're buying off-the-shelf golf clubs, they are standard size. Yeah, they're there to fit the majority. Obviously, that's not custom to your particular hands. The actual size of the grip is really key, just to stabilize it in the hands and then obviously just drive that comfort and control.
Would there be a correlation to glove size to grip size? If it's like you're a small, you're going to go for an undersized grip, medium, you'd be standard, so on and so forth.
So that's a really good benchmark, and it's a sort of like a general rule. Gets you in the right ballpark. It's not 100% accurate, okay? So when we're doing our studies, we know that there's even asymmetry between left and right hands, yeah? There's just very, very slight changes. So what we're trying to do at the moment is build out a much more thorough fitting process through research, through data. But a glove size would get you, as I say, into the ballpark and allow you to start to experiment from that point. Sadly, at the moment, a club fitting, the grip discussion comes at the very, very end, typically the last 2 minutes. You know, what do you play right now, and then what colours your
what
preference.
team do you support?
Exactly, yeah.
Let's match
and we're trying to move away from that. You know, it's the only part of the club that you're actually in contact with. It's like, you know, steering wheel in the car. So what we want to do is make sure that you've got maximum control over the rest of the club system. For that, we offer a whole host of different styles of grip for specific purposes. I would start first with your size. Yeah, let's make sure that it's fitted accordingly.
Brilliant. Well, thank you. Let's give some a try. And after we spoke with Greg, it was where I actually noticed this massive grip, and I had to give it a go. And as Greg said there, size of your glove actually isn't a definitive as to what size of grip that you should be having. So in today's video, I'm going to give these a little bit of a field test and a little bit of a data test. We're going to put the jumbo up against the undersize, and I also have my perfect grip size that we're going to test. Do they actually affect my swing characteristics and ultimately the ball flight that I will see? Because we could all be missing out here. We're all different shapes and sizes, so if this is the only thing that we are touching, surely we have to get it right. Now I'm going to hit 5 or 6 shots with both grips, the undersize and the oversize. I know what my perfect size feels like, but I want to just get an idea of what this one feels like, because as the undersize here, the crazy thing, I have small hands anyway, I'm a small size glove, is how much of my hand I can get it in the tips of my fingers, and I can literally wrap my whole hand around this. In my glove hand, the tips of my fingers are comfortably touching the heel pad, and there it's over. I can feel the club head more with it. Let's see how it performs. We won't have ball flight data here. We're just going to get what I think is going to be happening with it, but straight away I can almost feel more play there. I even want to just waggle it more. That's a weird thing, that. Strike was nice. That's interesting. I'm excited to know what's going to come from the data because they all felt really central and I felt like I was moving quicker. I do question whether there will be a correlation between club head speed as well. Ultimately, we think of the size altering dispersion, but is it going to play up with distance and club head speed? Right, let's try the big one. Just as a little bit of info for you, we are using the same head as well, and we have exactly the same shaft. Fujikura, Speeder, Flex X, same weight, same length, just the grip size that is altering. And one thing to think about when you do change the size of grips, one thing that you will change is swing weight as well. So the total weight will change of the club, but also the swing weight. So that'll affect that feel that I talked about earlier, where we feel the weight is throughout the golf club. Even looking at it, it just looks massive, that. And the big thing, just notice this straight away. I can get a finger in between the tips and the thumb pad there. The others with the thin grip was comfortably sat on it. I can't touch it there. And then even on here, when I get my top hand on, my trail hand, I can sort of wrap it over, but my tips of my fingers now feel like they're coming off and they're underneath as well. Before they felt completely covered over the grip. The one player we would associate with this would be Bryson DeChambeau. He has the Jumbo Max grips on these, which are even bigger, and we don't see a lot of wrist movement from him, and they sort of straight away. Oh, it feels awful. Let's give it a go. Feels heavier as well. Oh, that felt like it would have gone very, very right. And comment down below for us, when you selected your grips, did you actually get fit for them, or was it just what came on the club? Have you ever had a grip fitting? Because I suggested you check out the Golf Pride website for that. It feels like I've got like a baseball bat in my hands. Almost aches my hand. Does not feel comfortable. I felt okay. Felt laboured though. Felt like I had to do a lot to get the strike. Given it's the only part of the golf club we touch, that feel aspect, I just feel uncomfortable, and looking at the swings side by side, the smaller one looks comfortable, looks like a nice motion, that one looks like a laboured action and an uncomfortable golf swing. What will the data show though? Right, this one felt awful, this felt comfortable, which is to be totally expected being a smaller glove size. So flip it on the head. If you've got a larger glove size, I would imagine this feels more comfortable, but as Greg says, that isn't necessarily fact. What we are going to do now is get some facts from the data to see what happens when we have the large one versus the small one. I'm expecting, or my current numbers with my 3-wood would be that I'd be carrying it around the 240 mark, and I'd be swinging the club head at about 110 to 12 miles an hour. Let's see how that plays out with these grips. Not my best strike, but the biggest thing is the comfort factor on the actual grip before even swinging it. Feels normal. Strike feels good, but there's that little tendency, just a little bit of draw. Feels like the hand can release a bit more, but it's not devastating. Time for the jumbo grip. Again, just going back from that underside, it feels awful. Let's see what the numbers are saying though. That felt like I turned that loads, and it's right. Good strike. Wow, I felt very uncomfortable with that one. Didn't even register it was that bad. Tell you what, it's consistent. It is tight dispersion, but not on target. Strike's nice, but just can't control the face. And now for the standard option, which, as we see, just a little gap. And this is the perfect size for me, so I'm expecting perfection from these shots, but will it be so? There's definitely something connected to how your hands feel on the golf club versus the confidence that you're going to put into that swing. If you feel uncomfortable over it, like I did with the big one here, and with the undersize, I just feel like I can just go at it as well. The other one, I'm like, it feels forced, it feels laboured. So the data is in and we're going to dive into it, but a few common thoughts that you might have heard about grips. A lot of it is to do with club face control. The larger that you go, the more resistance there is to release. The smaller you would go with grip, the more release you would have. So you'd be able to maybe control your hook and your slice a little bit better. Also, we've got to factor in that big thing though, the feel. How does it feel in your hands? Because if it feels awful, are you going to play with it? Probably not. But let's see if those common themes are actually transparent in the data. Now, as I said, my current club head speed with my 3-wood sitting around that 110 to 112 mark, and I'm looking for round about 240 yards of carry, and I generally play a little fade. But what were we seeing? Well, interestingly, let's start with my standard one, the one that I'm fit for, the one that when we were at Golf Pride I had my hands measured, and as Greg said though, the glove size isn't a direct correlation to what grip size you should be having. But for me, I pretty much got those results there. 241 yards of carry, 155 miles an hour of ball speed, a pretty good path number for me, and in terms of the club head speed, it was bang where I wanted it to be, 111 miles an hour. In terms of dispersion, pretty much what I would see, that little fade, finishing just right of target, but very, very tight. There were 2 shots, one radically to the left, which was a toe shot. We've got to account for human error. But when we look into the other 2 grips, what do we see? So we move into the thin one, the one I felt most comfortable with. Club head speed, pretty much where I wanted that to be, 109 miles an hour. I actually felt, as I was stood over it, and as you could see, I was fidgeting a little bit more at the start in the field test. I just felt like there was a lot more play as I did this. How does that translate though when we talk ball data? Now interestingly, when we look at the ball speed, that's side by side with my standard one. Because I felt comfortable, I found the middle more, the ball's going to come off faster. Now because of that strike, it resulted in it actually being slightly longer than my standard one. 247 yards versus that 241. Slightly less backspin with a very similar launch, so that means it was just able to get a few more yards out there. In terms of dispersion though, interesting, I did hit more towards the left-hand side. I hit them a little bit more erratic, I would say, with this one, because there was a lot of movement throughout my hands and feeling that I could really get the face rolling and turning. I actually wasn't able to control it as much. It wasn't as consistent as my standard one. How does that actually line up though to the fat grip? Well, interestingly, the fat one was the slowest of them all, and I'm not surprised by that. I felt the most uncomfortable with this one. My hands didn't feel like they were able to cover the grip correctly. It didn't feel in the right place in my fingers, and that resulted in it actually being 4 miles an hour slower than my standard one at 107 miles an hour. When we look at the ball data, it comes in, no surprise here because it is slower off the club head. It's coming in at the shortest, 231 yards, so 10 yards down from my standard, 16 yards down from that undersized grip. Ball speed not too far away, 6 miles an hour down, spin pretty similar to the standard, hence why we see it being shorter. But this is the interesting bit. In terms of dispersion, I would say it was pretty much neck and neck, if not actually tighter than my standard one. It was offline, but the actual grouping of how close the balls were together was really tight on this one. And as I said earlier, the fatter grip, we feel like we can't release the face as much. Hence why all these balls missed the target to the right-hand side. Not a single ball went to the left. There was one off the planet right, which again, I didn't feel like I was able to get the face closed in time. Ball went right, but the grouping was really, really tight on them. So what can we learn from all this? Well, Definitely getting the grip fit is paramount. Getting that grip that is right for you, as we can see, is going to put you in a sweeter spot. But looking in terms of your club face control, as we know, the only part of the club we're touching is the grip, and as we put our hands on the grip, that is going to affect the club face. We've seen some interesting results there. If you're someone who's struggling with a really active club face, feeling like you can't control it one way or the other, maybe that fatter grip might help you, because it might just take one side out of play. As well, if you're someone who's really struggling to close it, maybe going down a grip size could help you, because as we saw, you were able to actually get the face a little bit more closed. Very interesting stuff there, and I definitely head over to Golf Pride's website and just take a look at the grip selection and actually the grip fitting process, because there's probably a few other questions that you would leave unanswered when selecting your grips. Why not watch another video here where you'll find out if you've got the right driver in the bag for you?